Welcome to a new episode of Show Me Your Build. Well, it seems that we're finally here. I'm a day late and I think I'm going to be changing the way I do Show Me Your Build. I'm going to end it a day early than I usually do. So typically for example, January 1st, what the fuck, we are in January. February 1st would be the next date I would actually make a new Show Me Your Build. I'm going to close submission on January 31st? Or is it 30? Yeah, no, 31st. So, yeah. That way I have a full day to actually work on this, which is easier for me. And, well, it means it has more chance of getting on time. Sometimes work just kind of get in the way, and yeah. So, anyway, that's not what we're here about. We're here to talk about builds, eh? Also, little note for people who want to participate in Show Me Your Build using beast units. Always use the non-transform version. So, the not in battle version would be the best, so because you can't see the difference between a transformed beast unit or a non-transformed beast unit. So I don't know when or not to add the +2 damage. So the +2 attack, sorry. So obviously it's better if it's just not transformed. So I always know. That said, let's get started, shall we? First off is Ezzy's Leon, and let me just get the message. I believe it's actually the second longest one. This is my Leon. She is attack plus, HP minus, and I'm currently using her on a flyer team with Camilla, Ninian, and Winter Erica. But I've been trying to fit her into a team that has less restrictive buffs. I was thinking semi-dragon emblem with my light breath adult Tiki and my drift Corin, and a healer of choice. Maybe just my absorb set on Winter Erica and change her C, or maybe just ditch the healer and run Mer, Winterfa, Legendary Robin, Tybar, Nyla, question mark. She also has Life and Death, Desperation, Drag Back, Wings of Mercy, Guidance, and Aether. Drawback is so she can be sung, danced, but I'll probably change you back to sing in a real team. I would say your flyer team is already pretty stacked as far as I know. Your Nidian and Camilla are really good units, and having 2 dancers is kind of overkill. Not to mention Leon kind of doesn't fill a niche. Camilla does basically everything she's going to do if you use her as a non-dancer, which kind of just makes the whole thing pointless. I would definitely point you toward a semi-dragon emblem team. Typically, also Adrift Corin would be a fantastic team member, and for the obvious reason that, well, a dancer plus a rally attack speed plus means you have a easy access to buffs for attack and speed to +6, speed being the hardest one to get, and attack being one of the most needed one in Leon's case. Really good for Adult Tiki as well. Adult Tiki synergizes really well with other dragons if you don't use Light Breath, which I honestly would go as far as to say don't use Light Breath. If you want to use any breath on Tiki, it's one of the two. Between Dark Breath, because the buff persists into your player phase, whereas Light Breath, if you use that on enemy phase to buff your stat for your next player phase, the buffs are gone by the time you actually get to use them. So you have to initiate with it, which is really bad for dragons, because dragons really like their quick riposte. So Dark Breath is just better overall. You'd be able to score kills on enemy phase while debuffing others, which is just better as a whole, personally. Other than this, Adrift Corin combos into Breath of Fog. There you go. So you can have an extra 5 attack and 5 defense. You could also run attack smoke and speed smoke seal to combo into Leon, which would basically be dark breath, taking your C and seal slot. Or what I would suggest personally would be possibly killing a large shell for a rest tactic, or Canis if you still have that. And run Death Tactic Seal, so that would be good. Though you could probably do this also on Adrift Corin, because at the end of the day, she would be basically a character that would be able to buff every stat by 6 for whatever unit you really need it, which would be fantastic, because at the end of the day, Leon with plus 6 in all stats, pretty consistent, a lot more attack. It's super easy to move your buff around if you need to buff 2 units, while Leon can just dance. And there you go, well, sing rather, same thing really. So you can actually get plus 6 to all stat for 2 characters, so you can easily defend. And Adultiki as a whole, 5 more attack and defense is really good. Renewal which is part of her weapon, would also make it easy for herself to heal herself. And in general, another thing about Leon is, what I noticed is your Leon runs flyer formation. If you're in a team with dragons, flyer formation is literally useless. It brings absolutely nothing. Why? Because just count as your 3 movement, okay? Count your 3 movement and look at any spot that you could teleport with flyer formation that you couldn't just go to normally. None of those happen to just exist. So at the end of the day, just having 3 movement to begin with gives you all the movement flyer formation could ever give you, which makes flyer formation very redundant at the end of the day. But this is nice because this can open your B slot for something like Renewal. Since you already have so much movement, Wings of Mercy becomes kind of irrelevant. And since her weapon heals everyone by 7 HP that are remotely nearby her, you can actually heal others that way while healing yourself through Renewal. This is good because it means you don't really need a healer. She already functions as your team healer, essentially. A bit slower, of course, but this is decently consistent. And it's honestly like the best B slot you can really run on her. Wings of Mercy, yeah, but you already have 3 movements, which is just kind of overkill to really go for more mobility at that point. You could also run Desperation if you want her to be more aggressive. But yeah, so at the end of the day, if you have a unit with, say, Death and Rest tactic, and like double Rally Plus, then you have 2 more units that you have like literal free reign to use whatever you want to buff Leon with. Double Drive Death comes to mind. Double Drive Death plus Attack Death Bond plus Death Tactic. You're jumping up to 39 defense. 39 defense and 46 res. Another thing would be Drive Attack 4 would be a good combo to actually make her attack get to a point where you can consistently kill stuff. Your speed is already good enough as is. Honestly, borderline overkill. If Attack Death Bond ever becomes an available skill, I would actually suggest for that skill to be your aim, because you'd end up with 44 defense, 43 res. Your res is already good enough as is anyway. So 44 defense, 43 res, pretty solid. Other than that, I would say maybe run her as a support unit, since you would be using her in a dragon team, which honestly is the best course of action here, a tactic dragon team. Attack Ploy would be a good option as well, if you want to really capitalize on her bulk, and Tiki's bulk, and also Corin's bulk. You get the idea, I think. Attack Ploy is really ideal. Other than that, you could also go for Rest Ploy or Death Ploy, but at the end of the day, Deathploy is only good for Beast. Restploy is sometimes good for Dragons. So Attackploy is probably your best shot. And at the same time, it improves your bulk by quite a bit. So, yeah. I just feel like that would be probably the ideal way to go about it. I would literally ditch the healer, as you said, because it's kind of just irrelevant at that point. As for your last team member, I would say Tybarn would be a good idea. A Gale Force Tybarn especially. This would give you more options, and, well, I mean, you're kind of just lacking a red. Well, no, you have Tiki. Well, if you have Nyla, actually, yeah, Nyla would be probably ideal. Because Nyla only has 2 movement, but it's one of your melee type unit, and she is absolutely ridiculous. I've had a Nyla that dealt 14 times 2, transformed that 14 times 2 into 44 times 2. Thank God for Moonbow Wrath, eh? But yeah, Nyla would probably be your best team partner at that point. Having a wall breaker of a defense unit would be fantastic. And at the same time, Nyla's main problem, and also Tiki's main problem, is they don't have typically good res, unless you really invest into those stats. Corrin has some res, but it's a bit shaky. But Leon kind of has a lot of res, so you can actually use this and still have some defense to a point that you can actually tank stuff. If you have to tank a melee unit, well, you can. Nothing holding you back. So, yeah. I think that covers it up. So, next up is Draco's Roy. This episode is gonna be long, I think. I've only took 13 units, but yeah. So, this Roy's IVs are attack plus, HP minus. Currently, I use him with drive, chills, or Winter Erica on the team to get some buff. Some buffs. Him and teammates or debuff on enemy. What the fuck? He also has Vantage and Fury on the learned skills. So, Draco, I know you're new, so I'm just going to point out something here. It's good to know what you are buffing with those drives, what drives they are, what shields they are. I know what Winter Erica has because I mean it's kind of obvious. She has a very basic set as a buffer, but like other than this, it's kind of difficult to know what you're talking about. So, all right. Binding Blade with attack speed bond, that's kind of a bad idea to begin with. Why? Because you already doubled through Binding Blade and 37 speed is already more than enough to double. You don't need more speed for any of the units that actually prevents follow-up. And having more speed is just kind of irrelevant. Speed ploy also is absolutely overkill. And honestly won't really help you. Preventing double through having more speed can help, but frankly the only few units I can think of that would help you about is Ira and Carla, which if they're going to have any kind of buff, you're not going to be able to prevent the double anyway. Sure, if you proc speed ploy and attack speed bond you can prevent them typically, but I'm gonna be real with you, as much as I love Ira and as much as I consider her extremely good, especially in this meta, you won't see her very often in Arena. And running attack speed bond makes you lose a lot of matchup like Zelgus and such. Characters that use Bolt Fighter and do not give a shit about speed. Typically though, if you really want to go for like arena meta, null follow-up is probably going to be your best B skill. And attack death bond your best seal skill. Or seal slot. If you don't have no follow-up, Guard is a good, although flawed, other choice you can run. Sorry about that. Honestly, I would just run Attack Def Bond personally, and for the C skill, probably Attack Ploy. Because at the end of the day, Ira is very dangerous to just, you know, let attacking you. But other units, such as literally any unit running Bolt Fighter, Attack Ploy will actually help you quite a bit. 34 res is fairly consistent. Doesn't work on Surtur as far as I know, which kind of sucks, but he's kind of green also. So you should be able to do well. Do be careful, however. Sinmara does cut away 20 HP, so if you're at like 46 HP and you try to bait, it won't work. He actually just completely breaks quick riposte before he gets to hit you, so keep that in mind. Quick riposte is really important to just block a wary fighter, so the refine is definitely really solid. But yeah, Attack Def Bond is definitely what I would run as the seal, and Attack Ploy probably as a C skill. If he's buffed by Erica, that's good. You're going to hit like what, 41 defense and 39 res with Attack Def Bond. That's fairly solid. Another good choice would be Close Defense. Oh yeah, you get 4 def 4 res with Binding Blade as well, so actually even higher than what I said. IVs are good also. Definitely nothing to change there. You're at like 45 defense and 43 res because of your sword. So yeah, at this point you're at a pretty good spot. Especially considering a lot of meta units are green. And even fucking Grima actually loses a lot of steam. I think he falls down to like 60 attack, which is still dangerous, but he can actually tank both hits. Unless he runs Blue Flame. And then it kind of depends on where your HP's at. Because if you took like maybe 25% damage, you might die. But yeah, good unit still. And actually no, I just realized Binding Blade is effective against Dragon. You're gonna one-shot him anyway. 60 attack plus color advantage plus Dragon Killer, you're at 108 attack. Unless he's on the death tile, but be careful. So that's kind of really all there is to it. Next up is Darky's attack plus speed minus Lucas. Now, this one I've been dreading to cover because I'm gonna be real with you, Chief. This is not the right type of unit to go for the set you're going for. If you really want to go for this type of set for this unit, I would say Oboro is actually the unit you want to work on. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's read what you had to say. Everything I said last time repeats. Hi Jay, this is my Lucas, my fuck range Lucas. Your help was really good as always with the last time, Jemkey. Lucas will be a merge project and he is attack plus speed minus. I choose attack because his set has more of a defensive focus side, so attack is needed to do any damage. Speed is like, I don't care because deflect magic and I want the second attack to charge my Sacred Cowl again with steady breath. Now, Casablanca is to take some Blade Tome flyers, for example Summertana, or I don't know. Of course, he can take a lot, too many at once, so yeah, any advice would help. I did consider slaying Aegis too, but Shield Pulse makes kinda up for the 30% instead of 50%. Edit, after testing a bit, I'd say I changed the IVs for more tankiness. Luca is meant to be pure bait with his build and his attack doesn't help him. Rather have allies killed that are glass cannons and Luca's pure bait. Maybe push his res so he can take some dragons too. Go for res refine or in res plus. So Lucas is a bit of a mixed bag. His defense is really good, his res is pretty shit. This kind of set kind of tries to deal with both, And if you want to deal with both, like I said, Oboro does better. Oboro, instead of Lucas, and is absolutely amazing, outstanding 38 defense and then 17 res, Oboro is sitting at 35-24. But to make things even better, Oboro has a res super boon. So you can have 35-28. With Berkut's lens, that jumps to 35-35. So already that's pretty good. Plus 10, that's 39-39. You still have to refine the weapon at that point, so say res refine. You can still run distant defense as the seal because you have so much res at that point that deflect magic is kind of irrelevant. You can run distant def 3 as the A slot as well because you actually don't have to really rely on specials, though you can still do so and just run warding breath then. It's just Oboro is way better in this role. Lucas, however, if you really want to use Lucas, I would not even say Casablanca, I would not say Slaying Lance, I would not say Wadao Lance, or however it's called, I think it's Harmonic Lance. No, what I would suggest is Brave Lance. If you really want to make this kind of set work, you'll have to also decide between going all-out res to deal with Reinhardt and co, or going all defense to deal with archers. Because the way it is, with Shield Pulse, it plays against you if you're dealing with archers or Luna Reinhardt. If you're dealing with Luna Reinhardt, always remember that he runs, first off, Lancebreaker. If he runs Lancebreaker, he hits you, Shield Pulse proc, Sacred Cowl, you get hit for 20% damage, then he hits again, Shield Pulse proc, then the third hit procs Luna. It's not as dangerous for Reinhardt because you have Deflect Magic. However, if you're dealing with archers, this is a huge problem. And this is also why Brave Ike is the best user of this kind of set overall. Because he has Deflect Magic and Deflect Ranged. And this makes things so much easier for him. Because at that point, what he can just do is like, he can deal with both. Lucas has to pick and choose what he deals with. Why do I say this? Well, yeah, he can take some abuse, but not all. And yes, Deflect Magic will somewhat deal with Reinhardt to some extent. However, archers kind of just don't care. The first hit will proc Sacred Cowl, second hit won't, third hit will, and fourth hit won't, and the fourth hit is Luna. Yeah, that's a huge problem. And that's another reason why Brave Ike is actually really good at it, because you can just run Halloween Dorcas's weapon and combo it into other skills, because it just completely negates specials. Lucas doesn't have those kinds of tools, so it's very difficult to make him work, but like I said, enough about me just pointing out why he doesn't work. Let me go with sets that do work. I would go for Berkut Lance. Straight up. The reason being, it's 7 res against Reinhardt versus the 6 less attack that Casablanca would provide, and sometimes not even work. Do keep in mind, goats do not give a shit. Goats will always do full damage, so that's kind of shaky, but it's also because, well, it's less consistent. Berkut's Lance will be more consistent when it comes down to it, and yes, I do know that Blade Tomes are a problem, but you shouldn't be able to, you won't be able to tank Blade Tomes. Oboro will. Oboro can, because you can just stack so much resistance that you can actually live this. But most of the Blade Tome units, they have to be red for you to deal with them, and if you're dealing with a Blade Tome Summer Tana, Scattered Faint Nino is very close by usually, and if she has Flyer Formation, she won't give a shit in a lot of cases. It's very difficult to be able to deal with those kinds of units. Shield Pulse would be an option. Not Shield Pulse, Dull Ranged. But then you lose Shield Pulse, so... And you kind of just don't charge it in time if that happens. But, if you don't have Shield Pulse, and you run Dull Range instead, and then change the weapon to Brave Lance, you can make things work. If you have two partners on the team with Infantry Pulse. Which is kind of difficult because his HP is a bit high. Another reason why Oboro does that better, because our HP is a bit lower, by 5 points I believe. But if you do this, the point is you can live and you have at least a player phase. As it is with Casablanca and all of those skills, you can't kill shit with Lucas. Lucas is just going to do like, I hit once for like 20 to 30 damage. Ooh! And fail to kill a lot of times. Brave Lance, on the other hand, will typically do maybe 20 times 2, which is enough to kill some units. It's shaky still, but it can work. At the end of the day, so you have some kind of player phase, so it's not all of the backup unit that actually comes down to kill it. To kill other units, I mean. So, yeah, it's a bit of a trade-off. Still, either way, Brave Lance is definitely the way to go weapon-wise, personally. It's not ideal, but, like, Lucas is just not the ideal unit for this. Sorry if that was not exactly the kind of answer you were looking for, but Lucas is very shaky with this kind of set. Anyway, let's move on to Zando's Joshua. And he says, someday this dude will get to +10, and when the merge change come next month, he's gonna feel even better to use. Just wondering if there is any other good skill set option for him to be using beside the somewhat generic Fury Wrath combo. I'm real proud of the work this guy has done for me, and he's gonna do even more once the change roll around. Team comp is flexible, and while I could sack another low-in for Special Spiral, I kinda want to save him. Don't worry, it's not good on him. So maybe avoid Special Spiral in particular. Otherwise, any ideas for this beautiful man, and greatly appreciate, especially for this heal, since Quicken Pulse is a little simple. Well, I can say that one again. Okay, so first off, I do want to point out one thing about Joshua. Joshua is kind of shafted when it comes down to merges. For those who don't know, the merge change is increasing 1 point in the 3 highest stats at level 1. The problem is that in Joshua's case, that is HP, speed, and def. He does not get any attack, which is a stat that he needs the most help in. However, that's still workable. The thing when it comes down to Wrath, though, and a unit that is mostly bulky like this, I think you can see where I'm going with this, is that it's pretty easy to use Brazen, and Brazen synergizes very well with Wrath. At the same time, Death Ploy is okay, but I feel like he'll be better with Attack Ploy. At the end of the day, 32 defense and 35 res is solid, but there's no reason for you to make it even better. So, here's what I would go for. Apparently, Brazen Attack Def is coming as a seal, so take that with a grain of salt. But if it does become a seal, this should be your seal. Brazen Attack Defense with Brazen Attack Speed as your A slot would be fantastic for you. It would fix the attack problem that Joshua ends up having. You would be jumping to 63 attack the second you're in brazen range. Your speed would fix itself at 44. Your defense would go up to 39. And your res is still at 35. Sounds good? So yeah, brazen attack def would be a fantastic option. Other than this, brazen attack res can work in the meantime. It's not nowhere near ideal, but it's something. Still, it's kind of basic, yeah. But at the end of the day, that's kind of basically what you can do with Joshua. Brazen attack def and attack res together would also be a decent combo, but your speed is a bit shaky, and there is not a lot of methods that are easy to access that buff your speed up outside of drive speed itself, of course. So you could also run speed ploy, but attack ploy is honestly the ideal way to go about it. You could also run attack smoke if you actually want him to have a bit more bulk. So that's also an option. Other than this, I think that's kind of it. I guess you could also say that bonds would be a decent option if you run attack def bond, for example. If you want to just run like a bond on top of the seal you have right now, attack def bond fixes the attack, adds some to your bulk, and then you add the attack ploy on top of it. You're sitting at 40 def, 38 res with attack ploy active. That's even better. That's the most basic change I could actually suggest. Adolma really needs a fucking refine at this point. It is so underwhelming. Anyway, next up is the res plus attack minus Effie from Plus 10 Arden, who does not have a Plus 10 Arden. What a fraud. Anyway, first my Effie used to have her be as support, but my Aversa is now the... what the fuck? Now the S support. Ivy, res asset attack flow. Oh my god, please don't use this wording. She is attack minus, but really wanted a res plus Effie, and the attack minus part will soon be gone with the upcoming merge change. That is true, so no point really caring about the Bane. I use her in my armor team and A for raid as well. Also A for arena defense team, but who cares? I have a lot of skill on her, including warrior fighter, obviously, and special fighter, as well as Berkut lance, slaying spear, and Wagasa and brave lance, and. So, why special spiral glimmer? What the? This set as a nutshell. The fuck is this? Where do I begin with this? If you want her as a cheerleader, this is not the way to go about it. If you refine Wagasa to res, I would definitely tell you that attack ploy and other ploy skills would be fantastic for her. 33 res is a bit shaky, but I believe at plus 10 you should have about 35. 35 is... it's workable. So you can actually make use of this, but what the fuck are you doing with Special Spiral? I'm so confused. Like, the best kind of set I can think of with Special Spiral would be running Special Spiral with Ignis with Slaying Lance. Glimmer doesn't do jack, and you said yourself you have Special Fighter, yes. Special Fighter, get hit, proc Glimmer immediately. It's easier to get into Glimmer range, it's easy to just continue to hit on Glimmer. I just don't see it. But yeah, if your whole point is just supporting, obviously Ploys, obviously Wagasa, and maybe a chill skill. Depending on what you want to run. Chill res could be a good option, so you have a way to do -7 def and res. So, yeah. Other than this, if you're talking about just overall effectiveness, boy oh boy, this needs to change. I would run Slaying with Death Refine. And I would run Special Fighter with Bonfire. Straight up. There's no reason you should run Glimmer. Glimmer won't do enough for you, and at the end of the day, even with this encounter, and I get the whole point is just to proc, I mean, at the end of the day, if you have a 3 cooldown skill with this weapon, it actually works. Unless you actually use the chill for a character like Rid, the chill is actually really not worth it. Like I said, Slaying Lance, Special Spiral plus Ignis, that way you can get hit for that 1 charge. Special Spiral gives 2 charge. Ignis procs every time. And Ignis does a lot of damage. That's kind of what I would do. 28 extra damage with Ignis is fairly solid, and with a Death Refine, that's what, like, you have 39 death. If on top of that you have an extra 6 defense from, like, Death Tactic, yeah, you're looking at 36 damage procs. Consistent. This is why I don't really like when people run Special Spiral with Glimmer. It can kind of work on Glass Cannon, such as Lilina, because you just don't have any more option in this, yeah? So, yeah, I mean, I can kind of see why you're doing this. You don't have other options. But even then, AoEs are just so much better. So yeah. And speaking of, you could also try to run AoEs if you want her to be a player phase oriented armored unit, even though that's not really ideal, but just giving you ideas. Special Fighter is obviously the better choice, though. Special Fighter with, like, Quick Riposte as your seal? That is good. Attack Death Bond would be ideal for the Ignis set, though. Or Bonfire set. But, if your goal is just to do so much damage while completely blocking your enemy, Special Fighter completely blocks Black Luna in most of his set, unless he runs a set that's literally, you know, 1 cooldown away from charging, and runs Bold Fighter on top of it. Which, those tends to happen once in a blue moon, thank God. I would just run Special Fighter with QR and Bonfire with Slaying Lance. That way you get hit, you proc, get hit again, proc again, and you're kind of immune to specials as well, which is really good. It's pretty consistent and will serve you well. So, yeah. That's what I would do. Next up is Zephrex's Donald, which is Rest plus HP minus. What does he have to say? I usually run him with a Corin with Speed Spur, so his speed isn't too bad during combat. Not sure which Corin it is, I'm guessing it's gonna be base Corin, so... Alright. Close Guard on Veronica helps, double drive attack on Gaius makes him even more of a threat. I do use him differently with other skills like Warding Steady, Fierce Breath. All 3, but why? And Guard or Fury, Renewal, or Life and Death. This is just the main set I run for him. So ideally, Tenon Boom is the kind of weapon you're going to prefer having an effect that's going to be working at full HP. Reason being, if you are so bulky, hitting Brazen can be very difficult. And the only characters that would actually not be saying this about are Nyla and Ira, because, and also to some extent Owain, I guess, because those type of character are extremely reliant on Raph to actually get any kind of damage out. Though it makes their damage output absolutely insane, so since they're relying on Brazens, not Brazens, but Raph, Brazens are a no-brainer, but when it comes down to Dunnel, a weapon like Tannenboom, it just screams bonds to me. If you run Attack Res Bond, which is available from Winter Cecilia, Attack Def Bond, which is a seal, and then your B skill would be something like, oh, Null Follow-Up, this would be what I would run personally. You're looking at 45 defense and 44 res, which is extremely bulky to begin with 37 speed. Probably a bit more with Corin, I'm going to guess like maybe double spur with like a support, which would mean you have a lot of speed to spare. Bolt Fighter would be completely destroyed with Null Follow-Up, and you have 45 defense, 45 def, and 44 res to actually abuse that on top of it. And then on top of this, you would have 73 attack at all time when getting attacked. Yeah. That would be just way more consistent. The problem with Brazens is if you get killed before you get to use them, there's no point, yeah? And that's kind of what it is. If you're dealing with Bolt Fighter, chances are you won't be able to tank that. Especially when it comes down from unit like Surtur, which on top of it have Sinmara. So it would be a good choice to actually, you know, run bonds instead. Obviously, the Surtur matchup is a no-brainer. You're not going to do well, but it's at least consistent. And Ignis, yeah, you don't really abuse the -1 charge that Raph provides, so yeah, I would definitely use bonds instead. And if you're actually going to go for a Raph Brazen attack and Def Brazen attack res, I would definitely suggest a weapon more like Slaying Lance. So, you know, every charge you get from Raph is a bit more consistent. But, yeah. You could also decide to run a Breath skill as the A slot of the former set that I was talking about with Null Follow-Up and Attack Def Bond. If you use Attack Def Bond Seal, obviously you'd want Warding Breath. Though, typically I would say Steady Breath and then wait for Attack Res Bond to become a Seal. That way you'd have a flat 42 on both. Or, yeah, a flat 44 actually because of Tannenboom. Which would be consistent, and you'd have, well, 2 charge every time you get hit. Raph would be kind of irrelevant in a way. And you could definitely use Blue Flame actually for scoring higher in Arena while still being able to use this. I see you also use Reciprocal Aid to actually get in Raph range and Brazen range. But in this day and age, Reciprocal Aid is too slow, way too slow to set up. You need to get a unit hurt, and then you need to trade HP with it. Typically your unit is going to be not working until the end of your second turn at best. And that's if you rush down the enemy to actually get hurt, which doesn't typically go well, does it? So it's not ideal, especially considering he can hit Brazens by himself to some extent decently well if you calculate what you're doing. But yeah, if you're going to go for a set like Brazen with like Steady, not Brazen, but like, actually yeah, Steady with like Raph, I would definitely suggest Bonfire, because then you can abuse Raph's 1 charge. Then it becomes 2 charge, then you get hit, then Bonfire procs. You typically will kill because 70 plus attack is kind of doing that. And at the same time, if you don't, well, you get a second hit. Null Follow-Up prevents the Bolt Fighter from working. And yeah, you kind of just a charge up for the next turn because Wrath gives you the last charge for Bonfire. Just thought I'd point that out. I guess that's kind of all I have to say though. So let's move on next to the Rest Plus Speed Minus from Brave Zoro. Thank God about the merge update, eh? Because this refine with Divine Naga is super reliant on the unit being at least somewhat speedy, and Speed Minus is oof, yikes. Anyway, he says, I'm really liking this refine, still Speed Minus Rest Plus. She'll get support from Fjorm with Drive Attack and Speed, and ally supported by Marissa. It helps that her res is high enough to get the +3 to all stat. Yeah, Rest Plus is actually one of your best boon for Julia if you plan on using Divine Naga. Base Naga is fine and all, but it really only does anything against Dragon, and it helps you bait Dragon. That's kind of all it does, and that's underwhelming to say the least. So Rest Plus is really good to get a +3 in every stat. It basically, instead of being Rest Plus, it's literally like Omni Boon, I guess. At least against the few people that she doesn't have the res for typically. Speed Ploy is also a good combo into it. I don't know about Heavy Blade though. I would definitely go for Rest Ploy instead. Heavy Blade is cool and out for extra damage, but Rest Ploy is gonna do just the same. As a matter of fact, it's actually better. Because if you are dealing with anyone with 37 or 38 res, Rest Ploy makes so Divine Naga procs. And if Divine Naga procs, well, that's 3 to all stats. And on top of this, it's an extra, well, 5 damage per hit. So you can combo this with Speed Ploy pretty consistently. You have 64 bulk against melee with this set, as long as you have more res than the enemy by 3 points. So, I mean, why not, yeah? 64 bulk is pretty decent, and well, Divine Naga is definitely a good weapon for that. So, yeah, basically Rest Ploy is probably your best shot. I'm not sure about Glacies either. I would definitely run something quicker like Iceberg, if I were you. But yeah, outside of that, not much else to say. Speaking of Oboro, when I was talking about Lucas, here's one. And this is what I mean by she can be overly bulky. This set has 51 fucking res and buff. Like, Jesus. Anyway, this is Deadly Duels Oboro. Rest Plus Speed Minus. Let me just try to find the message. This one of my unit led me to Grand Summoner in the arena. Oh boy. Bonus unit Winterfell. In my opinion, one of the best unit to run DC with ploy skills, Rest Plus Speed Minus. If you're going to be using her in high tier arena, Distant Death is kind of just irrelevant. I would definitely run close defense instead. Unless you're using her in A for raid. In A for raid, distant defense is definitely the way to go. Attack Ploy is also a really good skill to run for her. Helps make her bulk more stand out more. Oh, and that's something I forgot to mention. Fuck. Well, I hope you're watching this. Well, you'll probably leave a comment, but Darky, Panic Ploy is your best friend for Lucas, and so is for Oboro here. Panic Ploy is a really good C skill because first off, she has the HP for it. Lucas has 5 HP on top of this, so 59 is pretty consistent for Panic Ploy. Let's be real. But the reason why I point out Panic Ploy is because Reinhardt is your biggest nightmare. And, well, lo and behold, he is a fucking joke of a character if you have Panic Ploy, because you can kind of just use own Cav against him. It doesn't always work, because sometimes you're gonna be running into Goat Team, but it's definitely a worthy C skill to be running. Lucas can do the same, and that actually helps him a lot in dealing with multiple foes, especially Reinhardt. So, yeah. This is a pretty solid set. Like I said, Distant Death is really good for A for raid. I would run close defense in Arena, because in Arena, you don't tend to see mages all that much. You will see one once in a while, but typically what you're gonna see a lot are melee units, or at least physical units, and at that point distant defense doesn't really do a whole lot. Close defense will help you a lot more consistently, especially with dragons. Oboro will be your dragon killer essentially, and 41 defense can be a bit average, so close defense pushing that to 47s against melee foe, not a bad idea. Other than that, not much to say. This is a pretty standard build, but pretty effective. Anyway, moving on to Wesker. Here's Soren, and he says, "This is my Soren. His IVs are speed plus, HP minus, hoping to get a plus attack one. This build is mostly for AR to deal with Surters and annoying blue units like Reinhardt. His teammates are Olivia, going to guess base Olivia, Reinhardt, Ares, and a bonus unit. He also has Fury and Desperation for one not being used in AR, but he doesn't have a permanent team outside of AR. Should I run Attack Speed Bond since it works well with his weapon?" Attack Speed Bond would literally be life and death, but not bad, because life and death actually hurts you in so many ways on this set. If you're dealing with a dragon, it can one-shot you. If you're dealing with Reinhardt, he can kill you before you get to hit back, because it's fucking Reinhardt, for God's sake. So running Attack Speed Bond, well, that kind of fixes a few things, doesn't it? And if you run Fury, you're looking at 34 res. 34 res, you're going to be dealing with Reinhardt a lot more consistently. So that's definitely what I would suggest to go for. I'm not sure about Glimmer. I feel like that's kind of the type of skill that won't really help too well, but honestly, if I were to run anything, if you're gonna run Fury anyway, Iceberg would probably be what I would run. Otherwise, Moonbow, so you can deal with the high res units. So yeah, Attack Speed Bond would definitely be good with Windbrand, because at the end of the day, that's 34 res with Fury. You have a bit less base attack, but that's fine. You don't use AoEs after all. You'd be looking at 59 attack, or actually, wait, no, attack speed 2. 54 with Fury, that's 52. You'd be at 57 attack. So one more attack than what you have right now. But more importantly, 8, well, yeah, actually, no, 10 more res, as long as you have one unit around you, which is important for attack speed bond anyway. 10 more defense, which can be really good against certain units that are like Brave Lyn. It also kind of boosts your speed, which is pretty nice as well. It's just overall a very consistent thing I would be running with, because honestly, as it is, you're not dealing with Reinhardt consistently whatsoever. So this would help you a lot. Other than that, not much else to say. I would definitely run Chills if you plan on making him a arena cheerleader. You could also run attack res bond as his A skill. Not ideal because then you can't run shield, not shields, but ploys with it. But you don't seem to be running ploys anyway to begin with. But you'd have 39 res. 39 res. Plus 10 Reinhardt with Death Blow 4 buffed by own attack, or not own attack, own cav. Does 11 times 2. No, actually 9 times 2. Because you'd have a unit next to you for attack res bond. And it synergizes with attack speed bond, so would be a pretty good combo. Just understand it would be a bit unwieldy and take a bit of getting used to. But I can definitely see that work, yes. Since that's kind of just how his weapon work. So, yeah. Let's move on. This is Bulge Cordelia. Speed plus, res minus. And he says, my Arena Cordelia, speed plus, res minus. I paired with Sita with shield defense and attack boy for debuff. Our goal is to chip damage to do chip damage to tanky units so the bonus units can kill them. Can also provide some defensive stats through spurs and rallies. She also has Slaying Lance Spear set with SS. Probably Swift Sparrow. There's so many double S acronyms. Wind Sweep and Attack Smoke. Any thoughts? Well, since you already have Wind Sweep, what I would suggest you do is to run Wind Sweep as her B slot. The reason why I say this is because that way you can't hit twice. So you can actually, you know, soften up a lot more than just very tanky green unit and some very tanky blue units. This would ensure that you don't actually kill the unit so your bonus unit gets the kill. Other than this, I would also say Swift Sparrow is a lot better. Though, typically, if you want her to be a bonus unit, well, not a bonus unit, but a Arena Cheerleader, I would also say Leg Yarn, like New Year's Leg Yarn, or Weapon would be a good option, especially paired with Wind Sweep or Water Sweep, depending on how you feel. The reason why I say this is because that way you can actually debuff. You have Chill Death in her weapon, which means you can replace, what was it, Sita? Yeah, Sita's B slot for another chill, which means you have more coverage overall for debuff. So, yeah, that's kind of what I would like, and what I got to point out. Attack Smoke is also pretty good as a C skill if you're going to use her a lot in battle. So, yeah. But if you're used to Fire Sweep because Gale Force, that's a good idea still. 59 attack, 47 speed is just a bit too much damage for me personally, though. But yeah, not much else to say here. It's pretty standard for Arena. Next up is Mr. Bomi's Leg Yarn, and he actually was generous enough to also share the team comp, so I actually have a better idea of what to do with this. So, he says, if I can find it. Oh, there it is. This is my New Year Leg Yarn. I figured the res was workable enough to the point where she could tank even mages efficiently with the right setup. After the merge update roll, she'll gain +1 to her HP, speed, and def. Don't worry, I remember I made a whole video based on this. Along with 3 HP and 4 res during water season with Azura, which will only further improve her tanking in both spectrum. she's teamed up with my Sheena, the close counter Lilina that I posted in the past, and legendary Azura. She can reach up to 47 or 48 res depending on if she was exposed to Azura's own attack 4 or her own attack def link buff by the time Azura refreshes her. Lilina there to help her deal with the greens while Sheena provides attack ploy debuff. Azura take care of her further buffing her through her dancing. Figure she didn't need to run quick repose because after Azura dances on her, she reaches 44 to 45 speed. Opted to run Brazen Attack Res because it's much more consistent than close or distant death, and also helps with increasing her attack, which admittedly can use that extra push. I'm still trying to figure out a more ideal C skill, but Panic Ploy seems viable enough so far. She also has access to Slaying Lance as well as her default weapon. Any feedback and or suggestion on the build are welcome. I don't know how I feel about Attack Def Link. I really don't. Like, I get what you're going for here. Really, I do, but... If she's buffed by Wave already, this Link skill is useless. If she's buffed by Own Attack 4, this Link skill is useless. And then again, she is a calf, so there's not much use out of it. So I can kind of see what you're going for here, but... God, that's kind of shaky, honestly. Other than that, though, the set looks fine. I would definitely say, instead of Brazen Attack Res, probably Attack Def Bond would be a good option. Though, frankly, obviously, the best idea would be to just wait for Brazen Attack, Attack Res Bond to be a seal, which has yet to be confirmed yet, so might be in a while, sadly, but... yeah, that's kind of just how it is, isn't it? Attack Res Bond would just be more consistent and would also allow you to run something else for your B skill. The main problem that this set runs into is that Brazen is really the only skill of the set that's really reliant on her taking damage. Whereas, well, first thing is that you have no way to heal yourself. 2, your res is shaky. 30 res until you get hit is kind of prone to just dying before you get to the point of having the Brazen, and by the time you have the Brazen, your HP is so low Reinhardt still kills you anyway, so... it's kind of a bit shaky. So Attack Res Bond would definitely help there. Attack Res Bond plus, you know, plus 6 to all stat. Or hopefully plus 7 would allow you to have 42 res, to a point where you'd be able to tank Reinhardt and possibly also kill him. Also, Berkut Lance is enemy phase, Distant Counter is enemy phase. Bond skills are typically enemy phase, so that synergize really well together. Whereas Brazen is kind of just... well, I hope it's going to be useful at the right time, you know? So Attack Res Bond would definitely be a better seal, but it's not a seal yet, so... yeah. Other than that, not much else to say. This is a fairly decent set. It's actually pretty near of one of the set I believe I suggested for Legarn in our video, so... yeah. Not much else to say. Moving on next to Shigure. Well, Shigure, it's a double one, since Izard kind of just wanted information for the combo together. And he says, paired with each other, Shigure is attack plus HP minus and can tank pretty nicely. So, alright. Oops, sorry. First off, Quicken Pulse, don't need it. Why do I say this? If you have an infantry unit on your team with infantry pulse, that frees up your seal slot. And freeing up your seal slot is very good for Special Spiral. Also, Fury, kinda eh. I would run Life and Death so Blazing Wind does more damage, since it's based on your character page attack, considering a visible buff and nothing else. Also, instead of Death Tactic on Shigure, I would run Attack Tactic. Attack Tactic pushes Blazing Wind even further, which is good. If you do have Quicken Pulse, Death Tactic Seal on Navarre would be fantastic, as Shigure will be your basically he's going to be your tank. Ideally, what I would do is run Death Tactic and Rest Tactic on Navarre, or another character of the team, that also works, or one of the two tactic on one of the character of the team, and then on Navarre himself, the other tactic that's missing. That way Shigure can hit 36 defense and 34 res, which makes him fairly bulky overall. The way I would be playing around them is essentially Navarre teleports to Shigure, kills whatever unit through AoEs, and then Shigure repose him into safety. Which, that's another thing. Reposition on Navarre and drawback on Shigure. Switch that shit around. Shigure should be the one tanking, not Navarre. If you draw back Navarre, Navarre is in front of fucking a ton of enemies. Like, can I get skewered real quick, boys? Like, it doesn't really help you, considering he's not meant to be a tank. He's meant to be an all-out damage dealer. And that's kind of why you want Life and Death for him. Life and Death and Attack Tactic makes that 58 attack, and then you can run Ardy Bearing, so Vantage does nothing against him, which is pretty nice. Other than that, you could also run Attack plus 3, or like I said earlier, Rest Tactic or Death Tactic. Ideally, it should be Attack plus 3 or Ardy Bearing, so someone else on the team should be buffing Death and Res by 6. Titania could be a really good team member here, because it frees up basically every slot with Rest Tactic, Death Tactic, and Attack Tactic outside of Speed Tactic, which Navarre can provide. So, you know. Other than that, not much to say. Like I said, reposition on Shigure is crucial, so Navarre can be safe. And drawback on Navarre is good, so you can actually, you know, retreat a bit back with Shigure, while also not exposing Navarre to danger. So, yeah, not much else to say. 36 defense and 34 res with Def and Res Tactic would be absolutely really good for him. Def Tactic on him is not that helpful. As a matter of fact, like I said, Attack Tactic would be ideal for Shigure, since Shigure and Navarre are meant to be close to one another. And Navarre with the 6 attack can be actually a lot better. So, yeah. That's kind of all I had to say. And this concludes this Show Me Your Build. An hour and 8 minutes, goddamn. Sorry if I spend too much time on certain builds. That's just kind of how it is. But yeah, have a nice one, y'all. Gonna see y'all later.